Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney Plus.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are... Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream team.
And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working at.
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus rated PG.
Growing a successful business has never been easy. But whether you're navigating a complex industry or trying to reinvent one, our breadth of banking experts are here to collaborate on market-proven solutions. At KeyBank, we're built to grow with your changing needs because we're not just here for the business you are now, we're here for the business you'll become. Reimagine business as usual. KeyBank opens doors. Learn more at key.com/B2B.
The hidden trap of the kiddie tax. It's super cringe. And also how CEOs orchestrate the business. Enjoy. Welcome to the Age of Jeremy. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. You may remember me from such businesses as Free T, Warrior Academy, Age of Radio, Blockheads, which brings you Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto, Q Financial, and Freedom Insurance, and many, many more. I'm a multi-millionaire entrepreneur, and I have this podcast so I can talk to you about my business adventures and side quests. Just to let you know, there is a new segment that I do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. It's called Markets Radar. I'm going to be honest, this last Saturday, I read a bit too long, didn't do a lot of commentary. It was a rough one. I got to stay into my schedule of recording those bad boys right when I wake up in the morning, when I'm rearing to go with my cup of coffee, my cup of joe, my news, talking to you guys, giving you my opinions on what's happening in the marketplace. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram at Age of Jeremy. I'm at 2,345 subscribers. I'd love for you to help me get that to 2,346 subscribers. So go and subscribe, and also join my Instagram Dope Insights and Updates, where I give these news articles that I talk about on this show. I give the things that I'm investing in, how to be more involved with our 3T Warrior Academy, understandings of insurance, and so forth. So make sure that you take advantage of that as well as I continue to build my Age of Jeremy brand. But again, let's hop into my business adventures and side quests. The first thing that I want to talk to you about today is the hidden trap of the kiddie tax. There's a nasty surprise for generous parents and grandparents. If you have any kids and you're planning to help your kids or grandkids, say out with college tuition or give them a financial head start, this might be an article that you need to read. This is from the Wall Street Journal. I'll throw a link to this article in the episode description, and you can also get it today. Well, you're going to be listening to this on Wednesday. If you're a part of my insights, Dope Insights and Updates, you would have got this, say, on Monday. So you would have got this article earlier. And yeah. If you're planning to help your kids or grandkids out with college tuition or give them a financial head start, which most of us probably want to do. That's what I want to do. That's one of the benefits of being wealthy, is to help create opportunities for your children, even though I think that they also need to live outside when they're babies and learn some grit, but we'll talk about that another day. You need to know about a trap that shocks many families, and it's called the kiddie tax. This is a freaking horrible name for it. I have lots of opinions on this. My dearest Maria is sitting next to me. What was when you hear kiddie tax, what do you think? She thinks cringy stuff. I feel like it's a tax for when you have to purchase kids. That's what it sounds like to me. In 2023, nearly 400,000 taxpayers got hit with the kiddie tax. Owing nearly $1 billion collectively. And as baby boomers continue to pass down wealth, this number is expected to skyrocket. Now, what is a kiddie tax? It is often overlooked rule that taxes the unearned income of children and grandchildren at their parents' much higher tax rates rather than the child's lower rate. Congress created this back in 1986 to stop wealthy Americans from shifting their income to their kids to avoid paying taxes. It originally applied to kids under 14, but lawmakers have expanded it over the years. A grandfather wants to help his 20-year-old grandson, who is a full-time student, pay for college. He gives the grandson $50,000 of highly appreciated stocks to sell. The grandpa thinks this is brilliant because his own tax rate on the sale would be 23.8%, but he assumes his college student grandson is in the 0% capital gains bracket and won't owe a dime. Because the grandson is under 24 and a full-time student, the kiddie tax kicks in. He is forced to pay tax at his parents' rate. Let's say 18.8% for an upper middle income couple. Instead of owing nothing, the grandson suddenly owes around $5,000 to the IRS. Generally, it applies to children under age 24 at the end of the year. It specifically targets full-time students age 19 through 23, meaning they are in school for at least 5 months of the year. Now, it does not apply if a 19 to 23-year-old is not a full-time student and earns more than half of their own financial support. It also doesn't apply to kids who are married filing jointly or if both parents have passed away. Now, there's earned versus unearned income in this situation. Let's make it clear that money kids actually work for, like lifeguarding. I don't know who the fuck lifeguards. It's a horrible example. I don't know. What's something a child does? Babysitting or designing websites maybe, or maybe they're a young Mark Zuckerberg and they're coding video games for companies. That's completely exempt. The kiddie tax only applies to any type of unearned income. So examples of unearned income are taxable interest, dividends, capital gains, inherited IRAs, and even income from crypto, gambling, and social security. Just holding an appreciated asset like stock or crypto doesn't trigger the tax. The tax only hits when the asset generates realized income or it is sold. Now, there are some 2026 thresholds. The magic number for 2026, a child can have up to $2,700 in unearned income before getting hit with the parent's tax rate. So essentially, if you give them any unearned income or they have some stock or they sell it or whatever the case is, anything that's below $2,700, they won't get taxed it. Now, the first $1,350 is totally tax-free. The next $1,350 is taxed at the child's rate, which is often zero, and anything above the $2,700 is taxed at the parent's top rate, which my top rate is freaking 37%. We can't give any of our kids anything because I have to pay so much in taxes. But if I could give that 37% to Arizona, I could have some better roads. Just something to think about. If anybody's from Glendale, let me know. We need better roads. Now, there is a Trump account pitfall. There is a new policy. The new Trump accounts launching in July of 2026. Kids born between 2025 and 2028 get $1,000 at birth. That's why me and Marie are trying to have 17 kids so we can get all that sweet $1,000 at birth money. And families can contribute up to $5,000 more every year until the child turns 18. Now, I think that there's limitations on the amount of children that work in that, but I'm not 100% sure on that. These accounts can eventually be converted into Roth IRAs to give the kid tax-free retirement savings. That's good that they're Roth IRAs. However, if parents convert these accounts while the child is a full-time student, age 19 through 23, the conversion would trigger the weird named kiddie tax. I really think we need to work on a different name for this. Maybe the child tax? I don't know. Now, Tim Steffen, a CPA, who I don't know, if you have a Trump account, you can defer converting it to a Roth IRA until the child is old enough that the kiddie tax no longer applies, in which case it would go back into their tax bracket. So, for example, let's say it gets taxed at 37%, which is my tax bracket, and then they utilize it. It would be in whatever tax bracket based off of whatever the income is that they are currently in, which would be a lot lower than my 37% because I'm at the top of the tax brackets in this specific case. And again, if you don't know, we use brackets. So anything over $600,000, in my case, because I make over $600,000 a year, I get taxed 37 cents on the dollar from the Fed. And luckily, because I'm in the state of Arizona, it's not very high because we are almost a no tax state. So come to Arizona, best state in the union. Yes, don't listen to her. If you heard her, she said no. Arizona's the best state, hands down. It's not hot. It's only hot a few times out of the year. Traffic does suck, and it'll continue to get worse. But when I'm in charge, we're bringing a much better bus system to this state so that people can get around safely and securely. And so people can burn at the bus stops, if you heard Maria in the background. Now you can, instead simply giving a gift up to $19,000 a year in cash or assets is a gift tax-free and doesn't trigger the kiddie tax. The tax is only owed on the income those gifts eventually purchase. So again, this is based off of specifically income. If you have a financial advisor or financial planner, reach out to them. The thing that I want to talk a little bit more about in regards to this is the importance of planning. One thing that I do recommend is you gain your wealth, or even if you don't have a lot of wealth right now, you should still have some type of plan in place for a trust. So your assets don't have to go through an estate. And if you're investing, there are some things that you can do utilizing a trust to invest vis-a-vis the trust, to invest through a family office or a family LLC. And you don't have to be a millionaire to do those types of things. As you gain your wealth, those are things that you can do to help keep control over certain things. But along with those things that you need to understand the importance of having a financial advisor or a CPA that is helping you on a regular basis understanding tax strategies and understanding the tax law. You will gain more from a financial advisor or CPA from their understandings of how to mitigate and reduce taxes, probably from their benefit to outdo the market, which most people can't do. Investing in, say, an S&P 500 at $100 a month over the course of your life will yield you into enough to retire, depending on how young you start. And most financial advisors can't beat that. Lately, I don't even think hedge fund managers can beat what the S&P 500 is doing. And again, you really want to utilize these individuals for their benefit to reduce your taxes. So, and this is something that we're working to do much better at Q Financial, is to meet with our clients on a regular basis so that we can use tax strategy software to see if we do things and pull certain levers, I guess, would be the best way to explain it, to pull certain levers. If we pull certain levers, what will that do to mitigating or reducing taxes? A lot of the times in these situations, it's about pushing the tax burden off into the future, because traditionally, as you get older, if you retire, when you're in your 70s, you won't have as much earned income. So your taxes brackets will be essentially lower. So you want to mitigate most of that into the future when you don't have your W-2 income, when you're not having a bunch of earned income, so that you can keep your brackets lower, so that you can keep your taxes lower. So again, if you're interested in any of that, you can reach out to me on my Instagram. You can also reach out to us at Q Financial. My email is jeremy.quintanilla@qfinancialllc.com. That's Jeremy, JEREMY.Quintanilla, QUINTANILLA at qfinancialllc.com. And there is a link in the description. And I will also throw this in my dope insights and updates. We'll be right back.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade. bringing you an expanding library of education with even more ways to sharpen your trading skills. Access new online courses, insightful webcasts, articles, engaging videos, and more, all curated just for traders. Plus, guided learning paths with content designed to fit your unique interests. No sifting to find exactly what you need, so you can spend your time learning to trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
I was talking to CJV on Friday. One of the things that we were talking about was like the overwhelming feeling, especially on the days where you have to work 6-7 days a week. You know, and one of the things that we joke around about is that when we see how prosperous we become from doing the 6 or 7 days a week, we just kind of bite the bullet and continue to work at the pace that we need to work at because we're overly blessed from all of the people that have gone through the academy over the years, the people that trust us with their insurance, the people that listen to our podcast. If you don't know, we have our new podcast, New Wealth Transfer Podcast. I mean, you know, it does a very large amount of downloads afterwards, and then there's the live function of it. Then you can listen to it everywhere you get your podcast too. And so the thing though that, you know, that ends up happening in these instances is that there's these times where you're really building, you have to drive and go really, really hard and do the 7 days. Now I believe in people, every man should work 55 hours a week at least. But again, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I just think that that's the amount of hours that someone should work to be successful, because that's what's worked in my life. And we can see that from people like Elon Musk, who work 100 hours a week or 80 hours a week and sleeps on the factory floor or the couch and then gets up and just keeps working and working and working, right? You can work your way to a large amount of value. Usually that is through some type of liquidity event, such as going public. But the point is that you can still put in a lot of effort and a lot of time and have a lot more and build a lot of value. But one of the things is that, you know, you have to utilize levers. There's I think in one of the Apple movies, I think it was the one where Steve Wozniak was played by Seth Rogen. And in that one, there's a scene where Steve Wozniak asks Steve Jobs, like, what is it that you really do? Because he's the one that actually developed and did the coding and everything for their products. He was the one that came up with some of the beginning ideas about the Apple Watch. And so Steve's response was he orchestrates it all, right? Because that's really what CEOs do. Their responsibility is to be the face of the company, one, and then two, to orchestrate what is happening in the company and drive the strategy that the board sits down and creates. So most people think that CEOs, you know, grow the company through the products, the marketing, or the technology. But what's really happening is they understand how to utilize levers and add different levers to create what needs to be created inside of the company, right? And so most people traditionally don't believe that you scale a business by working harder. You scale the business by pulling the different levers and organizations, building the people to grow those levers. My caveat is if you do both of those things, you can do mounds more than any other person. If you can understand how to hire employees, train employees, have them do the other things that need to be done inside of the organization, create autonomy with them, and getting them to work 55 hours a week, and you also working 55 hours a week. I might sound like a person that's cracking a whip here. This is just for argument's sake here. And you're able to do that, then you can really drive more value than any other company on the planet. And I feel that we can see that from the mere fact that from that and what SpaceX has been able to accomplish, they've also been able to go public, make 4,000 new millionaires, be able to make multiple billionaires, and then also make Elon Musk a trillionaire. And I'm not saying that that's right or morally ethical from a value standpoint and whether or not that's fair for the rest of the world. That's not my point. My point is that is a perfect example of someone who's been doing the things that I've just said for many, 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 many years. And we look at that and can say, oh, that's a lot of value, even though the company hasn't really turned a profit. And they're about to dump $60 billion into Cursor, which it could be a good or bad thing, not the purpose of what I'm trying to talk about. So again, we want to think about if you're a CEO, right? You have to understand how to create that culture and how to create the levers that need to happen so that it can work apart from you while you are building those other things. Okay. The greatest CEOs understand that people are the people that build the products. People are the people that serve the customers. People are the people that innovate, and people are the people that create a culture. So you have to get really good at pulling the lever of hiring and pulling the lever of orchestrating all of these people to do the things that need to be done inside of a company. One great hire can change the trajectory of a company. And that's what I look for when I try to look for the leaders that I want inside of all of our organizations, or the people that can push it. You don't need, the thing that I think one of the things that it gets confused is you don't need people that are like you. You need people that are like them, that you can uplift, that you can invigorate, that you could pour resources into when they have something they're really good at, and then expound upon their talent. And then if you put those people in the right place, their talent massively explodes. And that's when you know you have a good leader. I don't want, other than the working 55 hours a week, I don't want a leader that's exactly like me. I want a leader that's exactly like them. And then I want to pour in to the things that they don't know that I think that they need to know that I have, right? So that they can add that plus their talent. And that's how you create amazing, amazing people. So when you're looking for people, you need to look at who fits the culture, who can grow others, who can own problems, who creates energy rather than drains it, right? And if you look at those things and you try to find people that have an amazing talent, that have those things, or you think that you can grow those things inside of them, then you will move your business a lot further. I coach people all of the time. People pay a large amount of money to coach with me through 3T Warrior Academy, to go through our Capital DR system. And one of the things that I always find from a lot of these small business owners that come into a lot of money is they're always afraid of relinquishing some of that ownership, not ownership like physical ownership, but like the ability to do the work. They have a problem relinquishing some of that and hiring people because they feel that they're not going to do it like them. And the truth is, they're not going to fucking do it like you, because they're not you, right? They're not them. You want those people to do it like them with the guidance from you, so that then they can have the autonomy to build the specific business. So when there's certain things where I relinquish that autonomy, I just had a conversation with someone from Age of Radio. I said, look, I trust your judgment in this. Bring in the people that you want to bring in, get them scaled up, and then let's utilize them for where we need to use it, right? Because I believe that person is making the correct assessments, and that person is going to be able to have the hard conversations as they're doing what they need to do to get us to the next level of what we're trying to do with Age of Radio. And so the key thing that I want you to take away from this specifically is you need to be the one that is pulling all of the levers. And what I mean by that is delegation, is learning how to properly delegate. It took me many, many years. I still suck at it. And I suck at it because I don't make time to delegate everything, and I fucking hate following up. That's something that I need to get better at. Or what I did was I hired an executive assistant, and now she goes and follows up with every single person and all the things that we have, so that takes that off of my specific plate, and we're moving things a lot faster. But delegation is the biggest multiplier, because I'm the bottleneck in my organizations that don't have enough people. That's why when people talk to me, one of the biggest things that people ask, they ask me all the things that I'm investing in. I'm only investing of my investment allotted money, 20% of that money is going into my actual passive portfolio income. The other 80% of the money that I'm making that I don't want to live off of, that is all going back in to hiring people, creating processes, and trying to earn revenue in these other areas, which is still something that we're working on. But again, the idea is that if I take all of those capital resources and I put them in here, I'm not going to get 12% a year. I'm probably going to get -5 a couple of years. I'm probably going to to get a 0 a couple of years. I'm probably going to get a +1. And then what's going to happen is one day I take the entire thing public. And when I take that thing public, then I become a billionaire in one moment. Right. So again, that capital investment into what's happening is for the longevity of what we're trying to build. And the only way to be able to get to that point is by delegating stuff to other people. And you have to get over, just like I had to get over, the mentality that nobody can do it like me. There are things that I need to be super anal about, but there are other things that I don't need to be super anal about. So you need to choose your analness in the things that you want to be anal about, so that you can choose to be anal about the right things and not so anal about the wrong things that other people can choose to be anal about. Everything is about anuses in this specific episode, in case you didn't know, because I said anal 9,000 times. Okay. But again, nobody can do it like me, because growth requires from doing to teaching to trusting to then empowering people. If you haven't read it, a fantastic book is called Situational Leadership. In fact, I think it's in my library that's in my storage. We're rebuilding our library in our home, and I need to get those out of there. And that's one of the books that I would love to revisit and make all of the people on my team read, because that is the key to learning how to empower people to do the things that they do really, really well, so that then you don't have to continue to be doing it with them. And then you can go focus on the things that you do really, really well. The other thing that you have to do, which I am really working on with Age of Radio and my other businesses, is continuing to design the culture. Right? Culture isn't just slogans on walls. Culture is what gets rewarded, what gets tolerated, what gets repeated. People watch leaders more than that they listen to them. And that's why I never ask anybody to do something that I'm not at least willing to try, or at least willing to understand, so I can understand the pain points of what they're doing. That's why there's that whole saying where, fucking Ford was on trial, and they're like, "Oh, well, you were an engineer. What makes you think that you can run a business?" And his response was, "Because I can look at a fucking, I don't know what they used back then, like the call boards. I can call anybody essentially in my office and I can get an answer to anything. That's fine." But what made Jeff Bezos even better was that he understood every aspect of the business in some degree, so that he could be better equipped to have conversations with the people that were the experts, so that then he can make better decisions. So one of the things that you can do to kind of pull the levers a little bit, or to start, is to recognizing excellence, addressing poor behavior. I have someone on my staff right now that is like the worst at letting people know what's going on in his day if he's not going to be working or if he's not doing something. And I had to have a conversation with that and do a verbal warning with him last week, because I'm not tolerating that. I don't care if you didn't get it done. What I care is you didn't let anybody know that you weren't working on it, or that it was going to be done later. So you have to set those standards, and then you have to live those values. If I expect people to work 55 hours a week, then I'm going to work 55 hours a week. If I expect people to work 60 or 70 hours a week and to sleep and then wake up and work and then go back to sleep and then wake up and work, then I'm going to sleep, work, go back to sleep, work, go back to sleep and work. Okay. You have to live the things that you talk about. For example, my number one principle is compassion. I encourage, that's a personal principle, not a business principle, but I guess it kind of bleeds over into the business principles. But my biggest thing is compassion. When people ask me about things or they're venting or whatever, I'm like, I share that with them. I don't think that that's accurate. I don't think that's a compassionate answer. And I only do the thing that's the compassionate choice. Now, again, sometimes the compassionate thing when someone's not doing really, really well is to have a conversation with them, a palms up conversation, and talk to them about what's not going well and have a heart to heart, right? That's a compassionate thing. But I will never do anything that's not going to be empathetic for the situation that others are in, or compassionate about the way that the situations that they're in, because of the fact that that's my number one principle that I live by. Okay. And so as you lay those out for your business, you then live them, your employees live them, and then it's really easy to pull the levers and to get them to drive forward with the mission and values of the company. And again, feedback is a lever to get people to do the things that you specifically need, right? There was a disconnect this disconnect ended up being my own. So I gave myself feedback. And then I also need to give feedback to another team member about communicating something about how the network works. Part of it was, and by network, I mean our Age of Radio podcast network. So we have a podcast that's coming on. I talked to them. They didn't feel that they had a clear understanding of what we do. I laid it out for them. They still want to move forward. Where the disconnect was, where my feedback was, where I didn't explain everything that I wanted the team member to do. But at the same time, that team member may not have given all of the information to the other person. So after I find that out, then I'll give the feedback. But in that feedback, I want the feedback from them too, so that we can both move forward. One of the greatest companies on the planet is Mondragon, and it's a Spanish. It's a company in Spain. It's a cooperative. It's a co-op corporation. So essentially every single employee has ownership, and every single employee has a say of who's on the board, and every single employee takes a share on the profit and decides what's to happen with that profit. Essentially, it's just it's a communistic business is the way we can think about it. And it's been around for like 150 years or some ridiculous time. They have everything from coffee shops in Spain to manufacturing plants. It's one of the largest companies in Spain. Okay. And two really important things about this. One, the employees give a feedback report. They do, what's that thing? Marie, what's that thing when people do like, when they're writing, they have to do a report on their employees, like a valuation or a yearly eval. So thank you. So every year they do a yearly evaluation on the managers. And the employees do that on the managers, so the managers can be better to the employees and for the employees. And then they also have like some compensation requirements to keep pay equal or kind of like in line and so forth and so forth. And so again, when you're looking at feedback doesn't have to be a one-way street, and it shouldn't be a one-way street. We always think that when we're having these conversations, when someone else is giving you feedback or complaining about what happened, I get that there's complaining, but a lot of the times complaining is a reactive response to someone feeling that something is not being listened to or something is inaccurate in the conversation that's taking place. So for example, if I'm yelling at a team member for doing something and they're like, well, this person did this. Yes, I understand that that's complaining, and they could probably do a better way around explaining that. But there's probably truth. There's truth in everything when people are fucking bitching. So when people bitch, listen to them, look past the complaining bitchy part and try to find the core of what's trying to be said, because there's some probably value there that we need to be listening to. And that's why it's important for team members to be telling that to the managers and CEOs, and then the CEOs also to be giving the feedback back to the team members as well. The other thing too is as you're finding people, I find this in businesses a lot, you want to hire people that can be the CEO of your company. I'm not trying to be a CEO of all of my companies. When I can, I will continue the strategy. Maybe I'll move over to the design side. I like design. And that someone else can be the CEO, someone else who's much probably better suited to be a CEO than myself. I'm very good at the creative side, the design side, very good at the operational side, the CEO side. I'm learning to be better at, but there could be someone out there when we get to a certain stage or to a certain level. I heard this on Pivot once, that there are certain stages where you hire different CEOs, right? Like there are CEOs that can get you to that $1 billion mark or that $1 million mark or that $100 million mark. Then there's CEOs that are out there that can definitely get you from that $100 million mark to that $1 billion mark because they've done it before. And so as we grow, I may not be the CEO for all of my businesses forever. I might just focus on some of the core ones or the ones that I believe that I want to be a part of that aren't into some kind of passivity, and I can just be a board of directors on the other ones. So again, when you're looking for these people, the people that I want to bring on and that I'm trusting in are not only people that I want to have as good workers, but I do also want to find the good leaders and then build those leaders up to then maybe take over and do what needs to happen. The other things that CEOs do is they pull energy levers. Okay. People aren't machines. Some employees increase the energy of a room, others drain it. Great leaders constantly ask who needs the encouragement, who is burning out, who has untapped potential, and who should be promoted. Just because a team member is disengaged in what's happening, it doesn't mean that that person doesn't need to be a part of the fucking company. That's our responsibility as leaders and managers to find that out and be like, shit, this person we definitely should have at the company. They've been a part of this company forever. Let's figure out they're burning out. How can we lift them up? Right? I am okay with burning out. Other people, it's not okay with them burning out because then they become more useless. That's why 55 hours is usually a pretty good marking for that burnout methodology, but we're not going to go into that right now. Okay. So again, the thing that I want you to leave with is that CEOs are the people that drive the company forward, and they're the people that are the levers. I like to think of it as literally an orchestra. If you look at an orchestra, the person that gets paid the most on the orchestra is the conductor, right? And so the conductor of the symphony is the person that's getting paid the most. They're not playing a fucking instrument. They're the ones who are deciding on how the loudness is going to be during a symphony based off of the transcription that they have of that specific symphony. They're the ones that are telling the other people to do certain things. They're practicing it. They're thinking about it. They're writing it. They're listening to it. They're telling it. They're orchestrating the thing. That's what's called an orchestra. They're orchestrating the piece, the symphony, the music, right? And that's why they get paid the most. That's the same thing that happens in a business. It's our responsibility as the owners and the CEOs to look at it and be like, where do we need to pull the lever? Who needs to be louder? When should someone be softer? How should we plan for later on in the orchestra when the timpanis come in, or, you know, the French horns come in? Are we reading this correctly from what the original person thought of it, right? Again, that's a little bit different. That's specifically to an orchestra. But the point is that you're thinking about all of those aspects and then pulling the pieces to make this beautiful thing that then is put into the world. That's why a person that's the conductor of the symphony, that's why you can listen to the same symphony by two different conductors and have a completely different experience. They're playing the same piece of music, but it sounds completely different by who is conducting the symphony. And as I always say, be thankful, grateful, and kind. We'll talk with you soon. Bye.
Tell me, how does it feel? Tell me, how does it feel? I see the meaning of life in your eyes. It's like swimming in the ocean at night. And when I'm with you, it's like I'm on fire. Nothing is real outside myself and your smile lines. Bring me down with sweet soft sound. My name, the way it sparkles when it leaves your mouth. Fill my soul